Hello everybody, my name's John. I'd like to welcome you to the Illinois State Military Museum, my little corner of it. Today I'm going to be talking to you all a little bit about the Vietnam War and some of the items that I used when I was flying. I was a helicopter crewman and mechanic in the Marine Corps for 6 years and in the Army for 2 years following that. Vietnam is a very small little country in Southeast Asia. Its neighboring countries are Laos, Cambodia, and Thailand. It's a very wet little country. It has a lot of water, a lot of rivers, streams, marshes, and the beloved rice paddy where they grow the rice. All that water is what brings me to my first presentation that I have for you folks today. Back in my time in the military, when we went into the field, we carried our water in canteens, just like this one right here. Holds about a quart of water, and we would carry 2 of them. We didn't have them little bottles of water that you younger folks have gotten used to being able to get at all the stores everywhere nowadays. And when we were in the field, and if we ran out of our fresh water, we didn't always have fresh water to replenish our canteens with. Therefore, we would have to use whatever water was available to us. And yes, that does include the river water, the streams, marshes, and even that rice paddy water. Now that water will make you terribly sick, but we would still use it because all of us carried little bottles of what are called halazone tablets. Halazone is an iodine-based chemical, and it can be used for purification. So once I would fill my canteen up with that nasty old water, I'd take 2 of the little halazone tablets, drop them in the canteen, close it up, shake it up really good, and put it back on my harness for about 30 minutes. At the end of that 30 minutes, I could drink that river or rice paddy water because the little halazone tablets, well, they'd done their job and they'd killed all the bacteria and even little critters that might be in that water that would make you sick. There were a couple things, though, that the halazone tablets didn't do for the water. They did absolutely nothing for the taste or smell. And take it from me, folks, it's the nastiest tasting water that I've ever drank in my life. But thanks to the little halazone tablets, I didn't get sick. So there. Now, believe it or not, those of you that are in school yet, you just had a basic Army chemistry lesson from about 1970. And teachers and instructors, I always try to get a little schoolwork in while I'm doing this. All right, now, usually this is the point in my presentation that I turn it over to the folks that are in front of me visiting our museum and let them pick out the items that I have on my table that they'd like to learn about. But seeing how we're doing it this way, I have been doing this for about 18 years now, so I've picked out a few of the items that I have the most questions about. And I'm going to start off with these 2 items right here. And for all you younger folks that are Star Wars fans, no, sorry to disappoint you, they're not lightsabers. If they were, we'd be having a lot more fun with them. I wouldn't get anything done. But what these are just simple old flashlights. But inside these white snow cones, there's colored lenses. In this one, there's a red lens. And this one, well, it's got a blue lens in it, but it decided to take the day off today, and it doesn't want to work for me. But these are called taxi lights. And they are used to direct the helicopters into a landing zone or onto the deck of a carrier at night. And they are used, it's kind of like hand signals. And like, let's say there was a helicopter flying around out here and it's dark and there's no bad guys around. And I need to get him down here on the ground so we can unload him. So what I would do is I would just simply start doing this. I would make this type of a motion. And I am telling that pilot that this is where you need to come. You need to come here. And once he gets to hovering out in front of me, I would simply bring him to a stop, cross him, and I just told that pilot, hold your hover. You're where I want you. And while I'm doing this, I would be looking, checking the ground to make sure there's no obstructions. No tree stumps, bushes, trees, or even any other people that might get in the way. Once I see that everything is clear, I would simply lower them and shut them off. By doing that, I just told that pilot that it's okay to go ahead and land. Again, these are called taxi lights. Another one of the items that is often asked about what it is what this is. This little item here is called a shroud cutter. There's one of them inside this little orange packet, and there's one of them inside my survival vest. When I give my presentation, when people are in front of me, I always tell the folks, please don't touch anything on my table. There are things here that look very, they look very simple, no problems, but there are things that you can get hurt on very badly. And I'm not referring to my sidearm or this big knife. This little item right here is called a shroud cutter. What makes it so dangerous is inside this little hook right here, right where my finger is, that little J hook is about as sharp as a razor blade, maybe even a scalpel. And it's made to cut yourself free if you get tangled up in webbing and harnesses. In the event of a helicopter crash, especially at sea, in water, helicopters, they float about like a brick does. They sink very quickly. But they are designed that on a heavy impact to start to break apart, to absorb that impact. Downside of that is a lot of harnesses and webbing and wiring can come loose and you can get tangled up in it. Well, this is located up in the very front part of my survival vest. I get it out. Normally it would have about a 3-inch heavy nylon string attached to it that would be attached to the inside of my vest, and that way if I would happen to drop it, I wouldn't lose it. Well, I would pull it up, get it out, start cutting my way free, get out of the helicopter, and everything's good. The term shroud cutter, though, has absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with a helicopter. Paratroopers, young men and women that jump out of the airplanes for a living, they carry these so that in the event that when they're coming down, if they get hung up in a tree, they can get it out, cut themselves loose, and get down out of the tree. The name shroud cutter is for the lines that run from the parachute canopy down to the harness on their back are called shroud cutters. That's where you get the term, or they're called shroud lines. That's where you get the name shroud cutter from.